Alright, welcome back! So last time I announced Maidral, we announced Spec as the main character, but Spec wasn't always the protagonist. Originally, I thought of Locke Kyler as the protagonist. So this is him! This is Locke Kyler. He is the vice captain of the Central Island M.I.U, which means he's Spec's immediate boss. So Locke is the first character I made, but he's a bit different now than he was originally. So my family went on a trip to England, which is a stupidly long plane ride. And I've never been like an OC kind of person. Like, I've always done comics, but I've never been like, this is my OC, let me post it, and I'm just, whatever. And it was weird. It was like I was struck by lightning. I was super bored, and then all of a sudden Locke like popped in my head. But the design is fairly similar, like outfit-wise and face, but he had the hair of a character I haven't announced yet, and he had Spec's inspiration. Because I really thought it would be interesting to have a protagonist who didn't just have, like, fire powers, or, like, punch you really hard powers. I thought it would be cool if he had something sort of unique, and I thought the idea of just, like, vanishing in smoke isn't, like, a super big, like, power shonen kind of power, and that would have been really interesting to use for the protagonist. But like I said, that's now Spec's power. So what is Locke's inspiration? So after a traumatic event in Locke's early college years, he realized the world is full of awful people and atrocities. However, out of that awful event, his inspiration manifested. So the light of day lets Locke detect when people are in need of help. The stronger the need, the more the scar above his eye hurts, and the more accurately he can figure out their location. However, the pain can often overshadow the accuracy. There's actually one character we'll meet later on who is so bad that it causes Locke to collapse from the pain. So being an officer is very personal for Locke. He's not in it just for fame and attention like Spec seems to be. He feels a need to protect his city and help everyone that he can. He's also very hyper-aware of everyone else in the M.I.U. who shares that drive. He has a very deep desire to help his people and save his city. So originally Locke was the protagonist of Maidral, and the whole story was about him trying to overcome his trauma to save the city. But I thought he was very interesting as a role model for Spec, and instead of, for lack of a better term, instead of just kind of trauma dumping in chapter 1 to try to get on with the story of Locke, I thought it was a lot better to have him as a reoccurring, very important character. Like in my mind, we sort of have 3 protagonists, and Locke is one of them. But he's a very important character who you get to know over a longer period of time. And you'll notice if you look at the officer files, under their inspiration, occasionally there are notes written down. So every captain and vice captain interviews their officers and allow them to explain what their inspiration does and what they want it to be called. If they don't want it to have a name or they just don't care enough, then Locke usually gives them a name, just because he's into that. You'll see in the manga Locke, along with some other people, will interview new recruits to figure out what their powers do and to watch them in action. Because occasionally somebody will explain what their powers do, but they'll leave out what he thinks is important information, so he'll add notes onto that. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with a lot of superpowered cops, not all of them are in it for the same reasons. So Locke has to keep very detailed notes on who he can trust, what personality traits he has to look out for, if somebody's lying about their power set and what it could also be used for. And because of the nature of his inspiration, Locke isn't really the strongest in a fight with other inspired officers, so it's very useful for him to keep those notes just in case he has to fight one of them. But again, that's mostly for safety. Once you meet Locke, he's a very nice and helpful person. He's got great hair that could fall apart at any moment. And you'll learn more about his personal identity, his interests, and his humor throughout the manga. He has his challenges, but he's just trying to make his city a better place. He's in a pretty frequent struggle trying to complete jobs as smoothly as possible without being ripped apart by the media, but one man can't really control the narrative, especially when the general public thinks a lot of his friends are monsters. But he's a great role model within the M.I.U, and he's beloved by the regulars at his local bar. I know I'm probably not supposed to pick favorites, but he's been with me for over 4 years, he's where all this started, so I'm kind of fighting a losing battle at that point. And if you're interested in learning more about Locke, I'll be posting a bunch of stuff about him all over social media. He's also hyper-aware of everyone else in the M.I.U. and the MDS who follows that dream. Nope. So when Locke was in his early college years... I don't know if I said it before, so I'll say it now, actually. So Locke Kyler is the vice captain of the Central Island M.I.U. I did say it before because I was like, he's Spec's immediate boss. What else about Locke do I need to say in this video? So is that it? All that I want to say about Locke right now? I guess. Dope! Alright.